So now we're going to get on to actually how to play the basic drum groove. So if you haven't heard of what the basic drum groove sounds like, it sounds a bit like this. Now, we're going to be eventually playing that by the end of today's tutorial. But we're going to break it down a bit and we're going to go step by step. We're going to start by doing it very, very simple, and we're going to go a bit like this. Now, we're going to start by our kick drum. If you don't know what the kick drum is, I'm going to talk you around what piece of equipment is the drums. So we're going to start here. This is the kick drum. It sounds a bit like this. Now, that's the language that we're going to be talking in with these tutorial videos. We're going to be talking in kick drum, high drum, snare drum. Get used to using this language because it will be key. So we have the kick drum. We have the snare drum. We have the hi-hat. We have the hi-hat open, where if you just take your foot off the pedal, it will open the cymbals. We're going to do the hi-hat closed. I've just put my foot on the pedal, so that means the hi-hat is now closed. We have the crash. We have the ride. We have another crash here. And we have the floor tom. So, we're going to be using that language all the way throughout the tutorial. So make sure, if you can't recall what I've just said, go back, rewind the video, and keep listening until you've got that language. So, back to the drum groove. We're going to start with a kick. Now, this is where we're going to bring the counting into play. So I'm going to play that drum groove again, the very simple one. And then what we'll do is we'll get complex throughout. So I'm going to count as I'm playing this drum groove. You ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if you listen very carefully, what was I playing the kick drum on? What beat and what number was I playing the kick drum on? Let's try again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I was playing it on 1 and 3. So, we're going to start with the kick drum. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, keep that counting pattern in your head. At least then you'll be able to start bringing in your kick drum on the beat 1 and beat 3. Okay? So, we're going to go on to the hi-hat now. With the hi-hat, we're going to have a constant, steady beat throughout. It's going to play that. It's going to play what you can hear now. It's going to play 4 beats. 2, 3, 4, and repeat. 2, 3, 4, and repeat. Now we're going to bring the kick drum up on 1 and 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. If you need to, you can start with a hi-hat and then bring the kick in. If you want to start with the kick on 1 and then 3, that's perfectly fine. You can do whatever makes you feel comfortable. But hopefully, at the end, or on the next tutorial video, you'll be able to play it all together and you won't have to use that counting as much. So, let's bring in our snare. I'm going to play the original drum groove again and listen to what beats the snare is on. So, it's on 2 and 4. If you didn't get that, it's okay, don't worry, but you will eventually get it. So, we're going to start by bringing our hi-hat in again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and our snare. It's going to come in on 2 and 4. Here we have the kick and the hi-hat playing together, and we're going to bring the snare in now. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. what I did is I brought every part in individually. I brought every part of the drum kit in individually, and then I managed to get that drum pattern. So let's do it again. We'll bring it all in together. 1, 2, 3, starting on the hi-hat. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Snare. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if we've got that, we can move on to the more complex drum groove, but it is still simple, and it sounds a bit like this. Okay, so we can do two different styles of counting here. We can go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and. Or we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But if you bring the and in now, because we're adding more hi-hats in, if you bring an extra syllable in, it will help you keep on time. So we're going to bring in more hi-hats in with this drum groove. So it should sound a bit like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Count how many beats we're playing there. On the hi-hat we're playing 8 now instead of 4. So we're doubling what we did before. Let's try again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah? Let's go again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah? So now the kick drum is exactly the same as the simple part that we did before. It comes in on the 1 and the 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So just don't bring it in too early. Just remember it's on the 1 and the 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, let's listen back to it all together and let's see what the snare is on. Now, if you've recognised what we did on the snare is exactly the same as what we did in the first simple part of the drum groove, what we broke down earlier. So, we're going to bring in the hi-hat. We're going to start with the hi-hat first, because that will give us our constant steady beat. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2. We're going to bring the kick in now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to bring the snare in now. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. The kick and the snare is exactly the same, but we just have to make sure that it's coming on the 2 and the 4. If we can't count to 8 and we're getting confused with counting to 8, then what we can do is we can just keep going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But try and get that counting to the way that we've been doing in the tutorials, because it will help you along as we go. So, what we've learnt so far, we've learnt the simple part of that drum groove. And we've learnt the more harder part of the drum groove. Now, let's just stop there. If you're having a bit of a pain in your wrists now, it's because you're not being more relaxed with your wrists. And that's where you're going to start getting a really bad wrist, and it's going to really hurt when you're playing these more complex drum grooves. Even though we're on the simple drum grooves, it can still hurt your wrist. So, I'm going to show you a little technique. Let your wrist flow. Don't be stiff and just hold it like that, because you will, if you're playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, it being really, really stiff, you're going to have really, really bad sore wrist. Now, let it flow. If you just do this in the air, And just be really, really relaxed. Hold the stick really loose. Yeah? And now, if you can see with these 3 fingers, so I'm holding my stick like this, and now I have 3 spare fingers. What I'm going to do is I'm going to flick as I'm being really relaxed with my wrist. Yeah? Okay? There, you can see I'm being more relaxed and having a flow with my wrist instead of it being stiff. Yeah? And having to use my arm muscles and my wrist. Okay? Let it be relaxed and do that with the other hand as well. And you will have such an easy time playing the drums. You don't want to make it hard for yourself. Don't make life hard for yourself. You have something really easy there. Have that nice, just relaxed wrist. Don't have to think about it. If you want to and you just don't want to practice on the drum kit yet, you can just start being really relaxed and just do it on your leg, do it on the floor, do it wherever. And just be really relaxed and just flick the stick. And then you can start bringing it on the drum kit if you want to. If you want to go straight onto the drum kit, that's perfectly fine. So, now, before we end the tutorial, we're going to just recap what we did. So we've learnt counting. We've learnt how counting can be a very, very important step within the drum grooves. We've learnt a really simple drum groove, but broke it down. We've broke it down and we started like this. And then we got it more developed to sound like this. And we've also learned what part of the drum kit is called what. So we have the kick, snare, high tom, floor tom, hi-hat, crash, crash, ride. And we've also learnt what we're going to do if you are stuck and you get off time. So if you get off time, stop, recalculate your counting, and bring each part of the instrument in separately if you need to. But hopefully now, by the end of this tutorial, you would have learned how to play that drum groove. So, next tutorial, we are going to learn a bit more into the complex drum grooves. So you can hear a little drum groove sound a bit like this. So that's just a drum groove that was our original. But all I've done is added more different parts of the kit in. But we will learn more about that in the next tutorial. We'll also be learning more about paradiddles and how to play them and what they are. And we'll also be learning about fills. So, if you've liked this video, subscribe and don't forget to watch the next tutorial. But also don't move on to the next tutorial if you haven't learned what we've learned in this tutorial. I hope you've all learned everything and I hope you've took very useful information from this tutorial, and I'll see you next time.